Hey there! Today I'm bringing to you how to deploy a website on HTTPS using Kubernetes. And the scope of this video is basically uh, creating deploy an image on Dockerfile and using it on Docker Hub and pulling this image on the Kubernetes, which is on AKS on this example. And doing so, we're gonna use doctech domain name, and I'm going to show how we configure it also. So, uh, nevertheless, let's start talking about our Docker file here. So, um, I mean, let me show you first what it's in this folder here, my resume. It's a website template for free that I just downloaded, and that's the folder here. It has some other folders. It has an index.html, which is our site, and it has some PHP, and that's why I just ran a PHP Apache here on the Docker file. So I ran some basic commands here to create a Docker image, and I really need to explain these two commands here. Okay, so the work there is basically saying to us where the container is supposed to start. So uh, it needs to start on the HTML folder. So when we hit the web browser, it needs to understand to start on the HTML folder. And here we are copying the my resume here, this folder, into dot. What is dot? Dot is HTML, because we don't actually have to put everything here. We could put it here, but we don't need, because when we put work here, it has already the understanding that we are here already. So we put this expose ADTCP, which is not mandatory because it's default, but I put it here to explain that, and the command to run the Apache foreground. Okay, so you actually don't need to change anything here, and I will put the link with the files here on the description. Okay, so um, I will actually just do a build on that. But to do a build, we actually need to go into the Docker folder, because we need to have a Docker file to do a Docker build. So we are going to do a build on, I will actually do a Docker build on the PHP 1 here, because the PHP already exists, because I created that. So that's a thing I need to comment right now, because all the files here, they are created for a very good reason, because the video would take an hour basically if I would creating while I was doing it, because imagine if I created a cluster while I was doing the video, or building everything from down from the ground zero. It would take so long. So that's it. Everything is already set up, and I'm just explaining it. So this here is my username on Docker Hub. This here is my the name of my repo on the Docker Hub, and this here is the version. So I'm creating a new version of my code here, and this dot here is to use everything there is on the Docker folder to create my new build. Okay, so I'm going to build it, and I could push it on the Docker Hub, so let me just do it. Docker Hub. Let me just. I did a build right now, and let me test it. After everything that you build, you need to test. So we need to test. Let's see. Oh, I don't have PHP on my local PC anymore. But anyway, I created it here, and I'm supposed now to run a test here. So to run a test, you can do a Docker run. To do a Docker run, you need to put some parameters here. You can set a lot of things. There are a lot of parameters here you could put. So there's not the better way to do, because there is not the case here, but I'm telling you there's a better way to do than just using the Docker run. The better way to do is using a Docker compose file, which I created here. I'm just putting the one here so it can recognize, since there is no PHP here. And we need now to use the Docker compose app. And once I use the Docker compose app, the Docker compose app is going to use my Docker file to create a run here. And basically that's it. So now my container, which I just created, is running. And to test if my container is working, I must come here and see. It's locally, remember. I did it and I didn't push it, so it's locally. Oops. And since it's locally, I should do a local host, and it's running. I didn't put any port here because it's 80, and 80 is self-recognized on the web. Okay. So okay, we saw it's running, and that's fine. And now we can push our code into the Docker Hub, which is here. However, I'm not going to do that because I already did it with this image here, my resume.php. Okay, so that's it for the Docker phase here. We created, we have the build, and we tested it. So to make a push here, we need to just push it with the name that we did. So that's it. I will just do it just so you know how it works. It's not there is no magic here. We run a command and it already existed because it's basically the same. And now we have basically two versions of PHP, but whatever. Let's run into the Kubernetes right now, and we are going to use our PHP image or our PHP one. It doesn't make any difference, but I find it more beautiful than PHP. Okay. So let's understand what works right now. Let's first see what is our cluster. Okay. Let's log in. There's a lot of services here. I just logged in my portal Azure. and this is my cluster here. So to connect, it's very hard to do. I just need to click on connect and copy this. When I click on copy, I just paste it, and here I go, connected. If I already am connected, there is no problem. The kubeconfig on my folder here is understanding that I'm here, but there's no issue here. So, okay, I can get the configs here. I can get pods on the default namespace, and there is already running. I can get namespaces. I can basically get anything here. So what's the first thing that I need to explain here? To make an HTTPS application work, you need to deploy a first an Ingress. Doesn't need to be an Nginx, but Nginx is what I'm using here. But you need an Ingress controller, and you certainly is going to use a Cert-Manager. What's a Cert-Manager? It's a controller which creates automatically certifications. Certifications, for those who doesn't know, is basically when you click here on a website and the site is secure, the connection is secure. When you try to connect with a site that is not secure, that site doesn't have a certification. And a lot of people cannot connect with a site that is not secure. So basically, every modern web application needs to be secure. So you cannot make some trades online if you don't have a web application securely. So basically, you are going to need a Cert-Manager and an Ingress controller. So let's get K here is the short for kubectl. Kubectl is the CLI command for Kubernetes, but the K, it needs an alias to work. It's not pre-made one. I had to actually create an alias for that. So let's get the service here, because that's what is important to us. So we have the Cert-Manager and the Ingress controller here. Let me show you how we install the Cert-Manager and the Ingress controller here, so you don't feel lost. Basically, there's a thing in Kubernetes called Helm chart, and there's a lot of places that you can get the Helm chart. Artifact Hub is one of them, and basically when you go to one of them, you just need to use 1 or 2 lines of code lines of command to install them. So basically, you get here and say, okay, Helm repo add Helm install, the name of the Helm, and there you go. Ingress and Nginx controller installed. Simple as that, easy peasy, and let's go. So what does the Ingress controller does? The Ingress controller creates it does kind of the job of a firewall. So first, it creates an external IP, and this external IP is the door to from the cluster to the world, to the internet. So using this IP, we can access the cluster, basically. But we don't want to access the cluster through an IP. It's ugly. Can you imagine going to a web browser and typing 52.149 blah 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 and go, this is my website? No, no, no. This is ugly. No, please don't ever do that. So we now need a domain name, and let me show you what is that. A domain name is basically how we say to the internet that we bought a piece of the internet, basically. We bought a name, and this name is ours. So that IP is actually ours right now for that moment. So we log into our domain controller, something like that. There is domain.tag. There's a lot of domain names. You just Google domain name and there's going to be a lot of them for you. And go to manage the DNS on whatever DNS you get. Create a record and put the external DNS on the destination IP address and create a host name. Okay, so you have the host name now. So whenever someone goes to the web and type this name here, what's going to happen? It's going to hit the HTTPS protocols, search from the DNS locally, the cache on your cities and so on your state and blah 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 blah, and it's going to find the IP. Search for the name, or who owns the name, where is it, until it finds the owner and is that IP. Okay, so there is an IP for it. But what is this IP? What has in this address? So the address could be for nothing, could be a void in this address. That's where it enters our Ingress, the Ingress controller. So the Ingress is kind of a firewall, like I said, right? So the Ingress here is saying, oh, I know this. I know Mateus. So let he enters. So I enters from outside to inside, to the cluster IP. So, okay, I know Mateus. He can enter here, and now he has access to the cluster. Now he has access to the cluster, and what is Mateus interested in? Mateus has interest in seeing the website. So what is the website? The website here is this service here, CV port number 80. Okay. Let me see. CV here, cluster IP. Okay, got it. Take it back, and we can see it. That's how it works. So basically, that's how the Ingress works. So it would function without the certification. It would work without the issue here, but that's not everything. Yeah, because we actually need it to be safe. Okay, we need it to be perfect. We don't need to a website that no one can would actually use. We need something that everyone wants to use, right? How can anyone click on here and oh, that's not safe? I wouldn't go there, right? So I am going to explain now the Cert-Manager, right? Um, Let me see something. Let me show you something, right? There is something called get certificate, and I didn't create that. Why is that? How that? That's crazy, right? So let me see this issuer. This issuer, that's an interesting name. Um, this file here has issued our certification for us. And the funny thing is that we actually just needed to put an email that's valid. And the other thing we need to do here is to bound it to the Ingress. When we bound it to the Ingress with this name here, it actually just works because it's bound. The Ingress will know, oh, this certification the issuer created is for me. So that's it. Okay, so basically that's it. Just summing up here, our deployment has the image we created, the services basically created to our deployment. The service doesn't need to be deployment open to the internet because the service is going to be secured inside the cluster. The job of being open to the internet is for the Ingress. The Ingress has the job to be open to the internet. And that's it, guys. I hope you understand all the process. And if you have any questions, you can put on the comments. I will answer all of that. I will put on the description the code for you. And feel free to put an improvement. And that's it. See ya.